Tron Ares just got even more real, and I'm not talking about the movie. Security programs literally invaded San Diego Comic-Con yesterday, and it was intense. But that's not where it ends, because if you go outside, this is where programs on their light cycles were. They were circling around the event. It was crazy. Disney did not have to go this hard, but they did. And the insanity doesn't end there, because we went to Hall H and we learned new details. We got to see new footage, but we got to start this off with those Sentry programs. They actually began this Hall H panel, and we can see the red laser. It forms the path. They come out, but when you look on the back of their discs, it is kind of in a different shape. It is not exactly the circular discs. It's kind of like a hexagon, and that's super interesting because, of course, this is the Dillinger grid. It's not going to be 100% like those circular NCOM grid discs, and they also wanted to make it similar to Ares triangle disc, kind of like a halfway, but they are definitely circular. You can see Athena holding her disc. It's just the circuitry, the light lines on the disc are a little bit more of a hexagon. Now, the next thing I want to focus on is the Tron logo, because we actually got a new variation of the Ares logo. At the very beginning, we see the same exact Ares font, but what's different is it's in blue, it's in 3D. The background, it looks just like Legacy if it had the Ares font. And this is what I've wanted the entire time, to see a version of this. It looks fantastic, but then it gets corrupted by the red and it becomes the Tron Ares logo we've all known. So this kind of gives away the plot just a little bit and semi-confirms the theory that Julian Dillinger stole from NCOM maybe Ares, maybe the permanence code, maybe something else, maybe the whole army, maybe a copy of the grid. There's a lot of different theories on what's going on here, but it makes sense that this would be the case since obviously these habits run in the family. It also just makes sense narratively. But besides this, we got tons of new footage of the movie thanks to a 9 Inch Nails music video. It's the same track that released last week with the trailer, and we've got some clips that we already saw, some clips in the leaked trailer, and then obviously some new footage, and that's what we're gonna go over right now. We need to go over some new shots of Athena. She's looking down and around, very concerned, and immediately does get de-rezzed. We know from the previous trailer that they do have 30-minute timers to complete their mission, and then they'll de-res. And what's interesting about this is you can see the floor, and then you see Eve is down there on the ground. It is definitely in an office building at NCOM, and we can see that Athena is moments away from attacking Eve, but her time does get cut short, and then she's de-rezzed right then and there. And I'm going to return to de-rezzing in a second, but I want to continue talking about Eve and Athena real quick, because there was some footage shown at this event that was not filmed and that only audience members saw, and the first clip has to do with the infamous light cycle police chase scene. And it is explained that Ares and Athena are hunting down Eve, and they corner her in a parking lot, but what happens is Eve is able to steal Athena's light cycle. She kicks her off and then takes it for herself, which is so cool. And the second clip is shown later where Athena is sending drones directly at Eve, but this time Ares is there to protect her. So this is later on when he changes sides. So it's going to be kind of fun and interesting to see this rivalry potentially brew between Eve and Athena. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like that's what they're building up with these little scenes right here. And also, based on everything we've went over, it's just kind of nice that a lot of the plot points that we've pieced together in the past year have been confirmed. And returning to the de-rezzed part, we're actually at the very beginning of this music video, and we actually see Dillinger again. He is typing on the keyboard to activate Ares, and I love this just simply because it's just like Dillinger talking to the MCP in the first film. Feels like Sam typing. We see Ares is activating, and then we see his screen, and it shows he only has 7 seconds before he de-rezzes. So this really just shows that these programs, they get like 30 minutes or less to complete a task, and then they get de-rezzed, and that's the end of it until Dillinger creates them again. Now, during this, we actually do see this like red explosion. It could be something else. I theorize that this is a version of Ares entering the grid or entering the real world, kind of like a reverse of what happened to Sam when he entered the grid. This visual, which would be very cool, but it's kind of unclear at this time. But continuing with the footage a little bit later, we can see Dillinger's programs breaking into the new NCOM grid. It's just another angle, and we can see them closer towards the force field at the center hub of the city. And then we can actually see Ares and his army holding their battle batons ready to go. Now, I got to admit, this next scene is definitely the coolest in the entire footage that we got, and it has to do with Ares' disc. We can actually see the disc with pop-up blades on all 3 sides, and it probably can increase damage that he can do to force fields as seen here, and of course other programs. And this is probably happening around the same time, but we can see Ares and Eve right here, and they're running away from the drones that we saw in the last trailer, and we can actually see them hop on the light skimmer. But but we get a closer look at Eve's disc, and it is 100% white as I speculated last video, and I believe that this disc has this special permanence code, and they're basically escaping Dillinger's grid because Dillinger stole the code and they entered his grid to steal it back, and they got to get it back to their system before it's too late. It could be something along those lines, but we'll have to see. And while we're on the topic of Eve, we can see another shot of her holding an orange, and then we see the tree, of course, and then there's blue lasers, so this could be their version of digitizing and materializing things to and from their world. And there's a lot of cool effects during this music video of programs walking around, and we get to see Eve here in her white circuitry suit, and it looks great. This is a front-facing shot of it. Beyond this, there's a couple more small scenes, but you really can't make out much since it's filmed on a phone and it goes really quick. So that's really the big scenes we got. But as for the panel, we did learn a couple of things. For example, they actually recreated the original office that Flynn was in the first movie. And this is probably not the underground office, but the office we saw where Flynn was working with Clue 1.0 to get the file against Dillinger. So this movie kind of feels more like a sequel to the first movie than Legacy regarding the main plot, but they are paying homage to the entire franchise. And speaking of Flynn, we gotta go over the fact that Jeff Bridges basically implied that he is playing Flynn in this movie. He didn't mention Clue, he said the name Flynn. So regardless of this version of Flynn being maybe a Force Ghost version, him and Clue merged, he's still going to be identified as Flynn. But it's nice to have that mentioned. Now, as for Jared Leto, there really isn't much to say with him. There's one major thing, and that has to do with the fact that he does a Akira motorcycle slide with his bike in the movie, which is amazing. I'm really glad we get to see this. Now, this panel ended with a music video, but it also ended with a new epic poster, and it's a recreation of the one we got in the beginning of 2024. Now, a couple of videos ago, I did talk about Tron merch and how we would possibly get our first looks at it, or at least get an announcement. Now, unfortunately, this wasn't like the Tron Legacy Comic-Con where they showed some of the action figures, for example, but we did get an official announcement of exclusive Tron merch at every Hot Topic store, and it's going to be dropping on September 19th. This is the same day that the 9 Inch Nails soundtrack fully dropped, so that day along with October 10th is going to be huge for Tron fans. And that's basically all the updates we have regarding this movie. We might get one more trailer maybe at the end of August, early September. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was closer to that September 19th date. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm very much looking forward to this. I will say regarding the panel, it was exactly what we needed. Obviously, me and others are disappointed that Bruce wasn't secretly being hidden and revealed at the panel, but it is what it is, because if this movie does well, Garrett, Olivia, Bruce could all return in maybe a future movie or a series. What do you guys think of this? Let me know down below and subscribe for more Tron videos.